Come take a trip in my airship. Come take a sail among the stars. Come have a ride around Venus. Come have a spin around Mars. Show us while we're busy. Show us to see while we school. Come take a trip in my airship and we'll visit the man in the moon. Will the audience please join me in whistling the chorus?
Greetings, loyal airmen, and welcome to the Airship 27 podcast, number 84. Holy smokes, we're at 84. Hopefully this video is coming across. There's some kind of feed delay going on here, so please bear with us. I'm your co-host, Captain Ron, and joining us as ever is Chief Engineer Rob Davis. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. And hello, loyal airmen. This is, as Ron said, this is podcast number 84. Can't believe we've done this many already. Crazy. So,
yeah.
So what have you been up to, Ron?
You know what? I am caught up, and we'll talk about this more at the end of the show today. Caught up in this new comic book project that I'm working on for Silverline Comics, called Beyond the Stars. It's a 6-issue miniseries I'm doing with an Italian artist named Andrea Bormida, and our good pal from Kentucky, Mike Belcher, is lettering it and doing such a really good job of that. But this is a Kickstarter campaign. It's going to launch May the 5th, and we have a cover. I think I sent it along to you.
I did. I'm going to I'll add it at the end of the show, or I could put it right at the beginning for that matter. I'll just pop it in there somewhere.
Right. Okay. Keeping busy with that and last minute preparations for you and me to head out to Chicago and Windy City, which is coming all too fast. But, you just got back from Planet Comic Con. How was that?
An exhausting weekend, but I've written a little essay here to talk about it. So once again, the Davis clan took the Interstate 70 and headed for downtown Kansas City's Bartle Hall. Interestingly, Bartle Hall was named for Harold Roe Bartle, a prominent two-term mayor of Kansas City in the 1950s and 1960s. I didn't know this until I Googled the show, but because I wondered who the heck is Bartle. But anyway, he was a mayor in Kansas City in the 50s and 60s. Must have been very popular. The convention center is where Planet Comic Con KC takes up all 4 of the exhibit halls for the dealers, pop culture guests, Artists Alley, Crafters Alley, and Spectrum Artist displays. That place is full. In addition, the show uses other rooms in the center for special events and panels. Several media stars attend to sign autographs and sell photo opportunities. The big guests on my interest list were Gates, Dr. Crusher McFadden, and John Q. Delancey from Star Trek The Next Generation. I was set up in Artist Alley all 3 days of the show and watched a steady parade of fans, costumed or not, stream by my table. I sold some Airship 27 books, special prints of genre characters that I have, back issue comics of my work, and rendered original sketches for the fans. The show is always a family affair, as my wife, grown children, and their significant others, and now my 3-month-old granddaughter, all attended. This being Renly's first comics convention. That's my granddaughter.
Wow.
Yeah, her first one. I didn't get to leave the table very often to visit with old KC friends, but a number of them dropped by to say hello, including artists Rick Stacy, Anna Maria Cool, Kerry Callan, Mike Worley, and writer-publisher pal Kirk Critton. Everyone seemed to have a great time at the show, and Sunday afternoon came far too quickly. Though my tired bones were glad to pick up and head home. Next year's show will be in March, the 17th through the 19th, so it won't be quite so close to Windy City next year, I hope. I plan to be there, and I hope loyal airmen in the Midwest area who can attend will come as well. It's well worth the trip. So obviously it was a pretty good show. As always, I was a little exhausted. The place is huge. And my table is right about halfway in the building. So no matter where I drop off, I've got to walk all the halfway through the building. So I got all my steps in this weekend.
There you go. Oh, hey, it sounds like a blast. A good friend of ours from down here, or I say up here in Colorado, made a trip there, and I don't if he stopped by to see you or not. Terry Crowley.
I don't think so. He may not, I don't know if he couldn't get away from his table or couldn't find me,
right.
But I don't recall him coming by. Unless if he's told you he came by and then I just forgot who he was.
No, I haven't seen him since.
Okay.
I had done
he would have said something to me about knowing you.
Right.
But I don't recall anybody doing that.
Okay, but
he
it's
was going to be.
Well, I know, and it's on my bucket list, buddy. Okay, sooner or Jones has been there several times, and met you there the first time when he went, and now Terry, and there are other local Colorado creators who do Planet Comic Con every year. So it's only a matter of time before I hitch a ride with them.
With somebody.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And surprise you one day walking into the hall,
Well, yeah. And interestingly enough, this is the last year that Teresa won't be able to go with me on Friday. She's retiring from teaching, so she will be able to go with me to these shows from now on. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the implications of that. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Bringing the wives. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll talk some more about that for sure.
Yeah. Maybe after the show, we'll talk some more about that. But yeah.
Yeah. Valerie would like nothing better. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, look.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
No,
we've come to the first of the bad jokes, if I recall correctly. And it's your turn to go first this time.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching the recording take place, and this is like a series of old movieolas with still pictures. I mean, the feed here is horrible, and I hope we have something to show when we're done. If not, we're going to end up re-recording this thing. We'll see.
You're looking okay on this end. It must be, yeah. If I'm going on your end, but you're looking fine. Every once in a while you'll blip, but I think we'll be all right. We'll be okay.
Okay, so here we go. Bad joke. All right, under the heading Pit Bull. All right, and this one sounds familiar to me, so I apologize to all you loyal airmen if this is one we've said. Now, we've been on the air for a while, so cut us some slack here, okay? These aren't all that easy to find. All right, a woman named Gladys one morning was leaving the 7-Eleven with her morning cup of coffee when she noticed an unusual funeral procession going down the street nearby towards the local cemetery. A long black hearse was followed by a second black hearse about 50 feet behind it. Now, behind the second hearse was this woman in widow's black walking with a pit bull on a leash. Behind her were 200 women walking in single file. Now, our girl is really curious, and she goes over and walks up to the woman with the dog and says, "I'm sorry for your loss. And I know how bad this must be. I don't mean to disturb you, but I've never seen a funeral like this. Whose funeral is it?" Well, the woman replied, "Well, in the first hearse is my husband. What happened to him was," she says, "he came home late one night, and my poor dog, Pitbull, mistook him for a burglar and killed him." "Oh, my God," the woman says. "And the second hearse?" She goes, "Well, that's for my mother-in-law who lives with us. When she heard my husband screaming, she went to his defense, and the dog turned around and attacked her and killed her too." "Holy smokes," the woman said. "That's horrible." Then she paused and looked at the widow and said, "Can I borrow the dog?" The widow said, "Get in line."
Oh
Ouch,
no!
ouch.
Oh, that's great. And it's strangely enough, there's a theme to the jokes this time, even though we didn't know. When we get to mine, you'll get the connection. When
All
we
right.
get to at the end of the show. That's great. Get in
Oh.
line.
All right. Okay, so here we go. I'll let you take the next agenda. We've already talked about it a little bit. We can, again, elaborate.
Okay, yeah, here we go. Windy City, here we come. A quick reminder, we will be at the Windy City Pulp and Paper Con, which kicks off from May 6th to May 8th. On Friday night, we will once again be hosting the Pulp Factory Awards. We hope to see many of our loyal airmen there. We have a list of the winners, and the awards have been printed up and sent out, and I believe they have arrived at their destination, and we will be giving them out at the show
on Friday night, the
Friday
6th.
night, just before the auction.
Right, just before the main auction. All right, and Rob and I have been doing these presentations ever since the awards were inaugurated, and it's a lot of fun for us. It really is. Hopefully, we sent out, and you have to understand this. We sent out little subtle hints to certain creators about maybe this would be a good year to go to Windy City.
Yeah, yeah.
But
hope they get the hint.
Yeah. But I believe there are several of the recipients who will be on hand that night. So and others will be there by proxy. So
Yep.
Really good. The awards keep getting more and more fun. I mean, the current number of the members of the Facebook Pulp Factory group now is what? I'm trying to think, Rob. It's like 452, I believe.
It's 400 some odd. I don't know the exact number, but it's over 400 now. Now,
right.
We need to find some way to goose many of them to actually do some nominations and voting, because it seems like a very small number are actually doing the nominating. I mean, there's a little bit there's work involved. You have to sit down and figure out what you've read this year, what really struck you. So there's a little work involved. So, but as you and I both do, as the year progresses, we have a little list that we have in our offices, and I go, oh, that's really good. That might go on my list. So I've got a list made up by the end of the year, but not everybody does it that way.
But I do the exact same thing. And, this is a good opportunity, I think, for all of you guys, and gals who listen to our show, and if you're not a member of the Pulp Factory, but are a bona fide pulp enthusiast, okay, whether it's old pulp or new pulp, and you're on Facebook and you would like to join a very amiable community, and I mean that sincerely, all right, put in an application, all right? I mean, you have to sign on and ask to join the group, and you'll answer a series of a few questions, which are really
questions.
Right,
Three really simple questions, and anybody who was a pulp fan will have no problem answering those questions.
Exactly. So, hey, I mean, years ago when the Pulp Factory started, we couldn't hardly get over 200 members. So I'm tickled pink. We're at 450. I'd like to see more, if only, as Rob just indicated, it will help the process along to get more nominations and more people involved with the voting. But that doesn't lessen the fact of the people who did win, basically are well-deservedly winners, okay? They did some great creative work last year, and that's why it's fun for me and Rob to recognize them at this award.
Obviously, they inspired people to get out, dominate, and vote. So, they won reasonable, in a reasonable manner. If you've excited your fans, that's exactly what we're looking for people to win this. Because they're nominated by members of the Pulp Factory Pulp Factory group, but then the actual voting happens publicly. Anyone can vote on it. So that's why I'd like to get more of the members involved in the nomination process. So maybe we get even a bigger selection of things to vote on. But then it goes out to fans, and if the fans are excited about something, they're going to vote. So
it does. Yep.
And it works pretty well. I'd like I said, I'd like a little more folks nominating. Maybe we can goose them next year a little early, but and get them going. We also need to do a little bit better on gathering the money to pay for the awards. I'm hoping to open up a PayPal account for the awards themselves, and then all through the year, then people could contribute to that. Rather than just pestering them for a month and a half.
Right.
In the year.
Exactly. The thing that we've mentioned in the past is with that large a membership, okay, if every member during the course of the year, when, they have some,
when they can afford it, they skip
a little
coffee.
extra cash, right. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I mean, we're talking $2 or $3 per member and we're set. We're set. That's all we need. $2 or $3 per member, and we're set. So having a PayPal, account for Pulp Factory Awards right there, it would be nothing for me, you, and the other members of the awards committee, which this year included Jonathan Sweet and Fred Adams, and Van Plexico helped us with the voting procedures he has in the past. So we appreciate all their help.
Gordon Domowski, who was also involved, even though he had some things going on in his life that kind of slowed him down.
Right.
But
and
and thanks, Gordon, for helping out. Yeah.
Yeah, you just brought that up. I'm gonna do a little digression here real quick. Gordon did lose his mother a little over a week ago. Yeah. And so our hearts and condolences go out to Gordon. And she'd been ill for a while, and it wasn't, unforeseen. But again, she was a single mom.
Still hurts. It still hurts.
Bringing up a great guy. Okay, if anybody knows Gordon, then you have an understanding of what this lady was like. All right, she's a wonderful woman, and so again, our respects and our condolences to our good friend Gordon. Okay, hey, we're gonna wrap up the whole factory thing, Pulp Factory thing, with that idea of once we have that PayPal account set up, there'll be nothing for me, you, and the other members every couple weeks to post a little notice.
Yeah, just say, hey,
donate,
throw a buck in. Yeah, throw a buck in now. Yeah,
right. So like Rob said,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So anyway, here we go.
Okay, so now let's talk about what we've been up to at Airship 27, released since our last show. And first up was Deadly Shadows. That's our second John Shadows book by writer Teal James Glenn. This features 2 stories of John Shadows with interior art by Ted Lemon, and Rob provided the cover. Again, this is fun stuff. It's pretty much a mix of a James Bond modern type private eye thriller.
Espionage.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And Glenn is an award-winning writer and only came to us a couple years ago out of the blue. He'd worked for other small publishers in the past, but we're really happy he's become a member of the Airship 27 families. And we've got more of his great books in the queue. So, you will be seeing them.
Coming up.
Okay. So what did we release then?
Next came Mystery Men and Women Volume 8. Once again, we have 4 terrific stories of new pulp heroes. This volume features writers Kevin Findley, Mark Allen Van, Joel Jenkins, and the late Greg Hatcher. Yours truly, I supplied all the art from the interiors to the cover.
Yeah. Again, the popularity of this series, I think, caught me off guard a little bit over the last year or so. But apparently our readers, you loyal airmen out there, enjoy this kind of showcase of meeting new pulp heroes. And of course, that's a no-brainer for our writers. One of the epilogues to this whole bit is that this was the second time that we featured Greg Hatcher's Dr. Fix-It on the cover by Rob. Last issue, volume 7 of the series, had an Adam Shaw picture of Dr. Fix-It. So that's he actually becomes the first character to be back-to-back, right? 2 subsequent covers. And there is a collection of those stories in the process right now with a brand new story and brand new Dr. Hatcher story that nobody has read yet. And once that gets turned into us, we will be assembling it. And Chris Kohler the artist was a very good friend of Greg's, has offered to do the cover for us. So we're working with Greg's wife, Julie, and that's something you could look forward to hopefully before the end of the year.
You didn't mention it, but that fourth story was actually started by Greg and was unfinished at the time of his passing. But you've handed it off to a writer. I don't know if you want to announce who it is or not, but
I'm
handed it off
glad
to a writer. Yeah,
we recruited one of my all-time favorite writers. Okay, and only because of his imagination and his technical know-how. We're talking about Fred Adams Jr.
Right.
Fred has created a half a dozen series for Airship 27 over the last 5-6 years, and was a retired college teacher who actually taught English and fiction writing. So, I mean, to me, he was the one person in the world I knew who could read the previous 3 Dr. Hatcher stories, which we sent him, and then gave him that unfinished manuscript. I had read the first half of the unfinished manuscript, and it was pretty much at the midpoint because most of our short stories are 15,000 words. And I think Greg had gotten in almost 7,000 to 8,000 words. So it was really midpoint. And there's nobody I trust better than to get Greg's writing style, to get his feel, and to understand the character than Fred Adams. So Fred's working on it right now. And like I said, once he has this brand new story completed, the book will be titled Greg Hatcher's Dr. Fix-It. And then at the bottom, someplace on the line, will be with Fred Adams Jr. And I know Julie is extremely excited about seeing this and getting it out. She was tickled pink when this volume got out with your cover, Rob. She absolutely loved it. She wrote me and said some very nice things about both of us, which I humbly say thank you, Julie. This is, we're doing this from our hearts. Greg was a great guy, and we want to remember him as best we can.
We'll miss him. Yeah, well, I really enjoyed these Doc Fix-It stories that he wrote because they're fun, but also very serious. There's fun to them, but at the same time, he's telling a whopper of a story. A guy who is a Mr. Fix-It for super villains. He builds their weaponry and their headquarters, and this is the guy that does all the behind scenes work for. He's essentially a super minion for the bad guys.
Right.
So it's a great series. It was excellently written and lots of fun to read and lots of fun to illustrate as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that last story finished by Fred and illustrating it to add to the previous illustrations that are already done for that book. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one.
All right. Okay. So then after getting out these 2 original titles, we did something that we had planned to do at the end of last year and followed suit. In the past, Rob and I have done Omnibus Editions, which are basically collections of limited series of one kind or another. I mean, we actually started it with Nancy Hansen's Jezebel Johnson, the Pirate Queen series, after she had done 4 volumes. And we thought, because the series was ongoing and continues, it might be beneficial to our loyal readers, okay, if we put out a huge edition with the first 4 books and offered it at a price that's cheaper than what they would pay to buy individual copies, every single one. So we did the Omnibus Edition, which was called Jezebel Johnson Buccaneer, and it was very well received. And we sold some at Windy City. We had some people there pick it up, and people still go find it. And I know Nancy was thrilled with it. Shortly after that, we put out a whopping omnibus, i.e., we collected all of Ian Watson's Robin Hood novels and short stories, and that's an anchor doorstop. Let me tell you, Rob did a new cover for it. He did all the interior illustrations. I have a copy of it sitting in my office. I love that book. I'm very proud of it.
There'll be a copy of it in Windy City. I've got one in the pile here. My daughter, who is an English teacher, walked up to the table and she saw it and she went, "Wow, you got all these in one?" And I went, "Yeah." So she didn't buy it, and I almost gave it to her, but I want to have it for anybody who's interested in Windy City. We'll have
hey,
it.
Look, as far as Rachel's concerned, tell Dad about your birthday and Christmas, okay?
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So basically, this is what this is about. Let me get back to Dang Chronicles.
Right.
This new Omnibus Edition collects the entire Dang trilogy by Barbara Duran. The story of an exiled Chinese prince who comes to California during the gold rush days. The books are filled with all kinds of Chinese magic and martial arts. The omnibus has all of artist Gary Cato's 27 interior illustrations and sports a brand new cover by Rob himself. Available at Amazon, Omnibus Editions are offered in a way to provide our readers with a series at a lower cost than buying the books individually. Later this year, we're hoping to do a second Jezebel Johnson omnibus from Nancy Hansen, who has finished books 5, 6, 7, and 8, and she's working on number 9 right now.
Yep. So, and that's all the quote unquote new stuff. So, what's coming next? Well, we have this one's been in the queue for a while, and we're hoping that this comes out shortly. It's Doc Atlas Volume 1. It's a collection of 3 previously published stories by writers Michael Black and Ray Lovato. The character has been around for a long time, and we'd hoped to get this book out in 2018. See, it has been a while. Health issues set Ray back, and then COVID arrived in 2019, late 2019, one hurdle after another. Now that we've dealt with that, everyone is healthy and ready to get this new Airship 27 series rolling, hopefully at high speed. Pulp Factory Award-winning artist Ed Cato takes on both the interior illustrations and his first ever cover for Airship 27. To say we are excited would be an understatement. And Ed is toiling away on that cover, and I've seen progress on it, but he's being a perfectionist with this. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. So it's taking him a while to get this thing done, but he wants to do it right. So we're giving him the time to get it done the way he wants it done.
So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's doing this in acrylics?
I don't know if it's oils or acrylics, but it's paint. He's doing real painting. He's not doing like some of our artists do. He's not doing a digital painting. He's actually working on a physical painting of this cover. I'm not sure how big it is, but yeah, there's some work involved in that. If he's using oils, and if he uses any of the techniques I learned when I was in art school, you do certain layers and you'll let that layer dry. And if it's oil paints, it takes a while for it to dry before you can do the next layer of paint that you want to lay on. So that may be part of it. Plus, but it's like I said, he wants to make sure this is the cover, and it's his first cover. So he wants to make sure he really busts a move here in getting it done. So hopefully he'll have it done before long.
We have to, and I've been in contact with Michael Black, one of the co-writers, and basically he and Ray have both been very patient with this. Okay, I mean really, and they're both guys. Yeah, they are. They're good guys. But what I wanted to share with you on this show is that Mike got a hold of me a few days ago and basically said, so as soon as Ed has the cover in, he said, I wanted to give you a heads up. He said, Ray and I put together the stories for volume 2. So basically, we'll be seeing Mike at Windy City, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But, again, the plan was always we want to reprint all the Doc Atlas stories that the guys have done previously in various publications, editions. So you have a unified collection, a library of them, right, under one imprint, Airship 27. Right. And then the hope is once we've done those, reprinted new editions, they're going to create new Dark Atlas shorts or novels for us. And I'm sure all the Dark Atlas fans out there are really waiting for that to happen. So onwards and upwards, as we say, right? Okay. And then we've talked about, other coming attractions, but one that I'm really happy about, because again, this is quickly becoming a huge seller for Airship 27, and that's our Bass Reeves Frontier Marshals series. And we're now in the last stages of putting together Volume 5, which will feature this time around stories by Michael Panush, Mel Odom, Gary Phillips, and Thomas McNulty. Rob, again, will be doing the interiors, and we've already got a cover in by our buddy out in Oregon, Warren Montgomery, which I absolutely love. It's a great shot of Bass on his horse, getting ready to ride out on one of his many missions into the Oklahoma Badlands. And another thing to point out, Mel Odom has had a story in each of these volumes. And he has promised us, as long as we keep doing Bass Reeves books, he'll have a story in every single one. So, yahoo,
cool.
Yeah. Yep. And hey, I'm sure, I think you saw Terry Alexander, who's another friend of ours from Oklahoma and is a cowboy buff and, amateur historian himself. The last couple of years has actually been going to a Bass Reeves conference in Oklahoma. All right. And I believe it's a Western museum of some kind that deals with Oklahoma history. And there's a giant statue of Bass on his horse outside the museum.
And I think his dog is there on that statue as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so last year, they devoted a huge part of the weekend on Bass, his life, his history, and whatever. And at that time, Terry spoke to some of the people in the museum, in the Cowboy Western Museum, about our Airship 27 titles. Well, the conference is happening next month. Terry, again, stopped over a few weeks ago and spoke to the curator of the museum, and they happily said, well, look, if you can get copies of those books with your stories, because he's done 2 of them for us out of this series that we published so far, the 5 books, they would gladly put them for sale in their curio shop, their, whatever, so basically
shop museum or whatever, bookstore, whatever you want to call it.
Right. And with Terry present, it'd be entirely possible for Terry to be on hand and autograph them for any of the
I know he ordered some books from me that's probably what those are for. They should have, I think they arrived last week. So he's all set. Now all he has to do is set up a time to be in their shop to sign those. So cool. Very cool.
I thought the whole thing was great. It's an opportunity, again, to promote this fantastic American hero, which is the reason why Rob and I and Airship 27 do the series in the first place. There is an actual once again, buddy, there's a new television series that's in front of Paramount right now. And it's being written and produced, and I'm going to get his name, Taylor Sheridan, the guy who created Kevin Costner's new series, Yellowstone.
Okay.
All right. And then last season, they did a Western prequel to Yellowstone called 1883. All right. Now, Sheridan loves Westerns, and he's a history buff. And so he's proposed to Paramount Plus 3 different new series. All right. One's a gangster series from like the Roaring 20s that he's developing with none other than Sylvester Stallone.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh yeah. Trust me, Sheridan's creds are big time in Hollywood right now, because this guy, I mean, he wrote the film, what was it, Hell and High Water, that Chris Pine starred in. All right. Which is a modern day type of Western about a couple of brothers living in Texas who are robbing the bank that basically stole their mother's farm. All right. And then he wrote a thing called Wind River, which took place in Wyoming. and then he does the series Yellowstone. So like I said, Sheridan's a real cowboy, and he loves the genre, and he's well familiar with the story of Bass Reeves. So when I read and saw this online well over a month ago, I was tickled pink, because not only can he do the job, but he can do it properly. Okay. If Bass Reeves ends up being a new ongoing series on Paramount Plus, I'm telling you, buddy, it's long overdue. We're going to get the real Bass. Okay. And believe me, for those, look, if you airmen don't know who he is, go Google him. Okay. I mean, arguably the greatest lawman who ever put on a badge in the post-Civil War era out in what was the new frontier of America, the West, okay, when it was really a frontier, all right?
Yeah, the Oklahoma Territory, known as the Indian Territories at the time he operated. Yeah. Yeah.
So amazing story. I've said it several times here. I won't bore all you loyal airmen again. But hey, check out our new books. If you get a time, check out the series. I think you'd appreciate it. And so that's pretty much where we're at now, buddy. Anything else that you want to bring up, discuss, or whatever?
I had something here. Let me see the notes that I wrote for myself here. A sad note in the pulp world. This last week we lost James Bommer, who was a cover artist. He passed away. He did he did covers for Doc Savage. That's what he's mostly known for. You know, the torn shirt and the chest out, and he was a cover artist for that. He also did Aurora monster models. He did the covers for those. He did the box art for those, and countless other paperback covers in the 60s and 70s. And for a long time, any editor of a paperback book in the 60s and 70s says to the cover artists, do something like Bommer. So he was very influential, still is to this day, I'm sure. But just another sad note that we've lost another great from the pulp era, or from the late pulp era. This would be the early paperbacks. And because he did his work in this late 50s, 60s, and 70s. So, and just incredible artist.
I think I'm not an authority here, but I'm sure our pal Bob Dice would definitely have a better concept. Bob posted a few things online when the news of Bommer's passing came out, and he was like 95, I believe, is what I read.
He was up there. He lived a long time. I don't know how prolific I don't know how much artwork he did toward the end, but he worked for a very, very long time.
Right, and I think and what I was leading up to is I think Bob mentioned a few things in his own comments and condolences online about some of the MAMs that Bommer may have contributed to or been a part of. All right, and that being Men's Adventure magazines, which our buddy Bob Dice is an authority on really well, and loves to preserve that history. But James Bommer was one of a kind. He was another Frazetta. Okay, he was a giant, and we won't see his like again. For us, Rob, myself, and all of us growing up in the early 60s and picking up those paperbacks of Doc Savage and whatever, Jim Beard, the day that the news broke, posted a little quib, which I found absolutely charming, okay? And I think Bommer would have got a laugh out of it. He said, Bommer, he said, he made us believe a man could have bronze skin.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because those covers were just incredible. I mean, I'm forgetting the name of the model that he used regularly.
Oh, Steve Holland.
Thank you. I could not remember his name. The gray hair's got in the way again. But and he was Doc Savage for a long time on those covers. He also posed for some Western covers and just romance novel covers. Hey, look, he was all over the place.
Let's get this. Yeah, we're bringing this up, so I definitely don't want to let this pass by. Steve Holland in the 50s and 60s was arguably the greatest painter model for all these guys that were doing all this artwork, okay? And did tons of covers for the great painters who did the MAM covers. again, back to these, men's adventure magazines. Well, very recently, this year, early this year, Rob, our good friend Bill Cunningham actually put out a book on Steve Holland. So there is a book at Amazon that collects hundreds of still photographs of him when he was working, when he was posing, and then you see the finished product and stuff like that, right? But yeah, Bill has a book out there, and I recommend it to any of you who are, really students of the history of American illustration and, this kind of thing. But yeah, Holland for many, many years was one of the greatest male models out there. And he was even, he was an actor for a little while. And I don't know if you recall this, okay? Because we're a few years apart. But in the 50s, early television, he did a Flash Gordon television series where he was Flash. Oh, yeah. I don't think it lasted more than one season. But you can get bootleg or pirate video copies or disc or whatever, okay? But I remember it as a child. He was Flash Gordon on a half-hour TV show on television. Hey, all the stuff you learn here on Airship 27.
These two old guys telling you what? Yeah, back in the day. Now that was before my time. I don't recall that. But I grew up in an area where we had two TV stations. We had a CBS affiliate and an NBC affiliate. Any ABC channel stuff or any syndicated stuff, they just kind of jammed that in around everything else. So things like that may have flown completely under the radar for me. But because I learned a lot of this stuff. 50, 60 years later, I'm going, oh wow, this happened back then. Wow, I missed it. So that's apparently one I missed, but that's cool.
Okay. Yeah. He was a great guy. I will most likely before the years I'll pick up a copy of that book. Bill's a good friend and great book designer, and he works with Bob Dice. In fact, they do their own little thing now called Men's Adventure Quarterly together. Where Bob does the research and stuff, and Bill designs. And boy, together as a team, they're non-stoppable. They produce some great magazines. So, again, we have some really good talented friends out there, people. All right, hey, look, the last thing I want to definitely bring up again because Captain Ron is keeping all his fingers crossed, people. All right. I've not been involved with a Kickstarter campaign ever. And the kicker, and, no pun intended with this, the highlight is this new comic series, Beyond the Stars, is something that I'm really excited about, only because of the art team involved. And that's Andrea Bermuda. He's a professional comics artist who's worked for most of the European market, Rob, and French, German comics, Italian comics. I think maybe a few British along the way, but his name's not that known in this country. He's got almost 30 years of experience under his belt, and a lot of his work. Somebody recently saw some of the pages that I had shown people, and said that he's very his heroes are people like Neil Adams. But his work has a Brent Anderson feel to it. Yeah, and you've seen the promo book. So the Kickstarter launches on the May 5th. I have posted numerous pages of artwork, sketches, and everything from Andrea. Mike Belch's lettering is phenomenal as ever. He's such a pro. And so we need this to fly. We need really a lot of supporters because unlike please. Okay. Tell your friends, anybody who likes comics, because we want to not so much even make it successful as to pay Andrea industry rates. Okay. Which he needs. He makes a living with his art. Unlike, Rob and I who are in retirement and do this and enjoy it and for the fun of it and staying sharp and creative. But people like Andrea are still punching a clock, my friends. Okay. They have bills to pay. They have, groceries to get and family to take care of. So again, I think the series is worthwhile. I think we've written something special. I know the art is special. we need it to be a success. And that's only going to happen if you, by word of mouth, dear loyal airmen, spread the word. Beyond the Stars is the name of the series. Silverline is going to combine it. So don't get, when you go to the Kickstarter page, and I'll make sure Rob has a link to that to post on the show notes.
Right.
But when you go to it launches May the 5th. And ironically enough, that's when you and I are in Chicago. So I'll be watching on the sidelines. But trust me, the sooner we get back from Chicago, I will be in promotion mode, big time.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is Silverline is debuting not one, but 3 new series. And so they'll be collected into this one campaign. So you'll have Beyond the Stars. The other 2 are pseudoscience fiction. One's called The Obsoletes, and the other is called The Cray, Conan type adventure thing. They look fantastic. They look a lot of fun. And so basically your campaign gets you the premiere of 3 new comic series, which I think is a pretty good deal in and of itself. So there you go. Rob has the cover. You'll see the cover on the show notes. There will be alternate covers, which I've already seen, Rob, in there. Stephen Butler.
Roland has some very talented folks that do those special covers. And these covers, now the books are available after the campaign's over with, but the special covers are not. Just those are only available in the Kickstarter. So if you're interested in something that's very, very collectible on a really great book, here's an opportunity for you on 3 books, in fact. So you could, and there'll be push goals and those sorts of things, extra stuff that you can get, sketches by the artist. I don't know what all Roland's got lined up, but I've been working with him for a couple of years now on Twilight Grim with R.A. Jones, and there's some great stuff coming out from Silverline. I'm hoping that these Kickstarters get things rolling for Roland, and that it rolls into something that he can take to actual comic book stores later on. He wants to build up a catalog and then sell them through regular. But you out there, if you go to that Kickstarter, you're helping him get that going. You're getting an item that no one else can get. Even after he puts them in comic shops, those covers will not be reprinted. It's all stuff you can only get there. So it's worth a look. Every time Silverline puts something out, there's always some great stuff in the queue from him. So go take a look at that. And our buddy Ron Fortier here's got a great book coming with a great artist. So go take a peek at this and help him out, please.
Hey, yes, thank you. I appreciate that from the heart, my friend. Thank you. Okay, so hey, it's time for Rob's joke. Oh.
See, I kept talking to put it off a little more.
Lay it on us.
Anyway,
you go.
And now you're gonna get the theme for this week's jokes. Okay. A man had worked all his life and saved all his money. He was stingy about money. He loved money more than anything else. One day, the man got ill. The doctors told him he did not have much time to live. After he discovered this, the first thing he said to his wife was, "Listen, when I die, I want you to take all my money and put it in my coffin with me because I want to take all my money into the next world." "I promise," said the woman, who would now have to live a poor life as a widow. Shortly after, the husband died. The funeral took place in a local church. He was lying in the coffin. The woman was sitting in the front row dressed in black with her good friend sitting there with her. When the ceremony ended, just before they were about to bury him in the ground, the woman said, "Wait a minute." She held a shoebox. She went to the coffin and put the box inside. The gravediggers closed the coffin and took it away. Her friend turned to her and said, "What's inside the shoebox?" The widow replied, "He wanted to be buried with all his money, so I put it inside." "Are you crazy? You buried that miser with all his money?" She replied, "Yes, I promised. I'm a believer. I can't lie. I promised that I would put that money with him in the coffin." "But he was rich. How did you manage to fit everything in the shoebox?" Well, that was a problem, said the widow. So I collected all the money, put it in my bank account, and wrote him a check.
Good luck cashing that.
So the theme this week is funerals.
Funeral.
So, I had no idea it's going to be a funeral too. That's great.
Oh. I'm heading out to the local comic shop this afternoon, like I usually do Wednesdays when they get their new titles. So me and a few get together for coffee in their cafe. I will be sharing that one.
It's a great one, isn't it? That's a great joke.
All right. Hey, once again, it looks like we're coming close to the end of our hour for this episode, and want to thank all of you guys who take a time out to spend these crazy hours with us. We really, truly appreciate it. Rob and I love doing these shows because of you, okay? And we're really hoping that in another week and a half, we're going to see a bunch of you in Chicago.
Please, come by the table. Yeah.
If you've never been to a Pulp convention, we tell you this all the time. Make plans. Next one's going to happen in, what is it, in August in Pittsburgh?
It's early, the first weekend in August. 5th, 6th, 7th, or it's right around there. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know. I was just looking at the dates for. So I want to set up our hotel room and all that. We've already got our table paid for, but I need to set up our where we're going to stay.
That would help.
We can't just sleep under the table
outside the convention hall.
or in my car. That would be a mess, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I've slept in worse places. Let me tell you, amigo. Thank you, Uncle Sam.
Definitely.
Okay. Yes. All right. Hey, if that's it, I'll let you sign us out.
All right. This is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron's only too happy to say, down ship.